What is up, guys? We are your Emerald Coast relocation team, Pete and Chelsea Sweeney, and today we're going to be giving you that ultimate guide if you are planning on relocating into Pensacola, Florida.
All right, let's go.
First things first, before we dive into this video, guys, this is Chelsea's first debut. She's my wife, and what she does is she helps out in all the back end. She's the expert. When you guys decide to call in, she's the one you're going to be talking to. We've actually had a few of you who have called in and no idea who she is.
Yeah, I wasn't on camera quite yet, and
Yep.
so one of you had reached out, and they're like, wait, I was calling for the guys. I'm like, well, don't you worry. I'm going to be just as present as these guys, but I wanted to at least say hello, introduce myself before we dive into what it looks like to move to Pensacola.
Let me preface this by saying that, like, before we decided to move into the Emerald Coast, this whole area, we just thought Pensacola was just like, all right, cool, Pensacola
Yeah.
Beach is right there, and it just is what it is, right? Small town living. Kind of everyone says it's Floribama or whatever it is, and it
Florida
kind of
meets
is.
the South, yeah.
And it kind of is. You go there and you got some southern. We have some property down in Clearwater too, and it's so much different from South Florida as compared to the Panhandle. But we're gonna really break into a few of those areas. The first thing we're going to be talking about is pretty much downtown Pensacola.
So downtown is the one area that I feel like most people, when they think of Pensacola, think about that or the beach. So we're going to cover both and how they're so different. But starting with downtown, I love downtown Pensacola, which is funny because coming from another state, the city of life wasn't always for me. So for me to really love downtown Pensacola, I think that speaks to what it looks like. So we were driving through together, and we were like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like Old Town, and then all of a sudden you like run into water. And it's so cool because how tall would you say the buildings are?
So, I mean, you really don't have anything taller than like 10 stories, and we're not used to that. Like 10 stories in Denver is like the shortest building in the city. So
Yeah.
we saw that and we're like, wow, this is super cool. It was actually,
It made it feel small.
this is so weird. I don't know what it is. So it's like we're driving downtown, and it looks like they have like living quarters above the main, the restaurants and all that stuff. And I kept thinking of Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and I personally have never been to Bourbon Street, so maybe it's from movies I've watched. I don't know,
I
but
think that's what people talk about. Though.
yeah, potentially, yeah. But it's a super cute place down there. Like I said, it's like that's what we were looking at was right around downtown. We're like, oh, we're gonna choose this place right here and stuff. So that's what initially gained our interest in it. But then we ended up not living so close to it.
Yeah, let's talk about the houses for a second. So the Old Town, or I call it Old Town Pensacola, which is probably so inaccurate, guys, but it feels so much more like an old town than I would say like a big city or like the downtown feel.
Yep.
If you're coming from, say, a larger city like Denver or Colorado, when you're driving around downtown Pensacola, you have things from bungalow style housing, Victorian, plantation. You have anything from half acre to an acre. And I mean, they have really bright housing to kind of like bring in that downtown feel to something a little bit more traditional. And I love the fact that if you just keep going down the street, I would say every third house looks a little different, which is really interesting to me that it's not just all kind of like cookie cutter. But don't take my word for it. Sitting here, let's go ahead and take it to the streets with Peter.
Now, when considering possibly moving into Pensacola, downtown might not really be on your mind. There's different flavors for different people, so but it's always good to know all the different eateries, the different lifestyles that you kind of have here downtown. Obviously, surrounding downtown, you have a lot of these older Victorian-style houses, so it just depends on whether you want to be close to downtown or you do want to take advantage of that Emerald Coast. And so we're going to kind of walk through this downtown a little bit, kind of show you some great spots. So over here you got the Red Slipper. I just walked by, there's a shit ton of people over there waiting to get in. It's Louisiana Cajun style food. You got the garden over here. It's like a food truck kind of a gazebo type spot. And as far as the burger goes, I'm no burger connoisseur, but I definitely make it a point anytime I go somewhere to check out where the best places are to get a good burger. And I was definitely impressed with the awesome burger that they had over at O'Reilly's. So I highly recommend if you are down here, kind of checking it out. So here's another spot that I'm gonna kind of show you downtown. Is we're in, I guess you would consider it like the downtown Pensacola Central Park. I'll kind of zoom around here a little bit. You can see what it's like. So great spot to come here if you want to just kind of hang out. They have a cool fountain here with a little memorial right in the middle of it. As far as just getting out, stretching your legs, and really checking out some great spots to eat or even hang out, I highly recommend downtown Pensacola. Now let's go and check out some of the residential surroundings, see if it's something that might interest you in regards to moving to downtown Pensacola.
All right, we have talked about early in this video about how most people think of Pensacola and Pensacola Beach kind of. Personally, I thought that Pensacola's here and the beach would just be on the outer edges.
Right there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. However, that's actually the bay. These are all things we had to learn, guys. We knew nothing about this.
It's just like a simple Google search, right? That we could have done, but we're just like, all right, cool, Pensacola Beach is going to be right there. And we're like, wait a second.
But they also like abbreviate things. So people kept saying the sound. And we're like, I don't know what the sound is. And so finally we're like, okay, listen, what's the sound? So what we learned is if you're downtown Pensacola, you go over the first bridge.
It's like called 3 Mile Bridge. I think now it's called Pensacola Bay Bridge.
Oh yeah, Trent taught us the new names for it. Which, if you don't know Trent, go look at the other videos. You know, he is our like local expert. Grew up there. Like really pull from him on like how Pensacola has changed.
Yep.
So the first body of water is going to be the bay. Then you run into this little city that we're actually going to talk to about at the end of this video. So stick around to the very end when we bring in this other city. Then you're going to go over another bridge. That body of water is the Sound, which we knew nothing about. Now we do. Now we're pros.
Yep.
And then you get to Pensacola Beach. So that's a long way to say that Pensacola and Pensacola Beach are not attached really at all.
Yeah, and so pretty much what Pensacola Beach actually isn't technically a part of Pensacola. It's a part of unincorporated Escambia County, right? So they're definitely separated a little bit, and so everyone always thinks that, you know, they're one and the other and they're both the same. That's not exactly true.
The cool thing about it also is that they are completely different vibes.
Yep.
So you have the old town that we were talking about earlier on in the video and like that just wonderful little downtown area, and now you're like your beach, like you are at the beach. It is so beautiful. In fact, okay, so Peter, the first time that we went there, Peter said that the sand squeaked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? The sand does not squeak. Like, I know it's beautiful, but like I thought he was just like, I don't know, like checked out. And like it does not squeak. Well, look at this video because I was proven wrong by my beautiful son.
Yeah, guys, like I said, we have a property down in Clearwater. Clearwater beaches are amazing, but I will take Pensacola Beach over it all day, every day. It's like this super white sugar-style sand. It's an amazingly soft sand, and like I said, so I feel like it's underrated. Like most people, they always talk about Destin and all that stuff. They have similar sand and all that stuff too, but everyone talks about Clearwater like it's the best thing. I think the thing that Clearwater has going for it, it's like a huge party beach, right?
Yeah.
Pensacola has a little bit of a party vibe, but I think I see more families in Pensacola Beach than I do like this whole party scene.
Yeah, and one thing too about, say, Southern Florida is you usually have like $1 million houses and kind of commercial and like restaurants, things like that. Pensacola Beach is unique in that way that on the ocean side, you do have like the restaurants, things like that. You do also run into, you know, some houses on like the stilts, right? The things that are going to be most at risk for any of the hurricane or the weather or any of the flooding. But then right across the street, literally one street away, you have a couple blocks of just regular single family homes.
Yep.
That don't seem like they belong there, that gives that Pensacola Beach that smaller town vibe still.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing to really keep in mind when we're talking about Pensacola Beach is a lot of those properties, those houses that are on the ocean side, are short-term rentals. And so if you drive through there, you see signs like Vacasa, like all these different short-term companies that are in the area. You pretty much just have people who buy those houses up and they probably vacation down to them. It's not their primary residence. So many people use them as short-term rentals more so than actual housing.
Yeah, you guys are going to want to stick around. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, give us a thumbs up because we're going to be covering why we specifically as a family did not choose Pensacola Beach or Pensacola Downtown, which is really interesting because we love both areas. But follow along with us because we really are going to give you our honest opinions as we learn all of this area of Emerald Coast.
And of course, guys, we want to help you out with your pain points, the same pain points that we potentially went through when moving into the Emerald Coast. So if you are interested in moving to the Emerald Coast, give us a call or text the phone number right below right there. We put together the best relocation team to help you out to make it as painless as possible. The next portion that we're going to be talking about is like west of downtown. So you got like this whole kind of military areas. You have the NAS air station over there. You have got like Corey Station over there, which is more like a school for the military. And this is your ultimate like kind of military area of Pensacola. If you go down into there, you see a lot of military families up in there. We actually, the first time that we ever flew into Pensacola, it was super crazy. We're sitting there waiting for our car and there's like a ton of military families must have been coming back from vacay or something like that, but they're all getting together, hey, what's up, like high-fiving in the airport and how was the flight, and,
it's a really small airport in the area that you actually are getting like your luggage and you're getting a car.
Yep.
And all of that area was like young kids and families, and I don't know, it had a really nice vibe, which I really appreciate. We could tell obviously it's military because, you know, the haircut. For those of you who don't know, Peter is an Army veteran, so being surrounded by other, you know, people in the military and their families, I just relate and care so much about what they do for our country. So it was just really inviting when we all of a sudden were surrounded by everyone just traveling with their families and just being together.
It definitely brought back those days back when I was in the military, like that whole lifestyle. Everyone's so tight knit and stuff. And so that west side of Pensacola, you were definitely going to find that. I'm not saying that they don't go a little bit further, you know, maybe closer to the east side of Pensacola where you kind of have a little bit more of the suburbia area. But a lot of that military is dedicated in that area because of those stations.
Now, if you are driving to Pensacola, because that's what us crazy folks do, we pack our kids in the car, we drive straight through. It's just kind of how we are. Like, everyone always says, like, you're not going to do that when you're older. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, for now we do. And it takes us like 30 hours with 2 little bladders. But when you are driving through and you're going to Pensacola and then crossing over the bridge and all that, you actually might miss this west side because there's so many trees. You'll see signs for it and turnoffs before going kind of straight into Pensacola, but you actually might miss that whole area because of how much foliage there is.
Yeah. Now we're going to be talking about the east side of Pensacola. So we're talking about like East Pensacola Heights, Ferry Heights, Pace Heights. These areas right here that I guess technically consider outside of the military area, your suburbia area of Pensacola. And we actually, I mean, we weren't used to this at all just because of what Colorado is. Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
So when we were driving, and you would think that these waterfront properties, right? So these are properties that actually go towards the bay. You would think that this would be like kind of these newer, bigger houses. You'd see master plans. You'd see, you know, just this different type of community. Because so in Colorado, it is like the master plan.
Everything's brand new in Colorado.
Yeah.
If you're outside of the Denver metro area, you have brand new master plans.
Yes.
Every master plan has like a pool community. Some of them have multiple pools in it.
Multiple pools
and we're
and
just
tracks and
we're used to this whole
lakes and-
thing, and we're like, what is going on? And so we kind of brought it up to Trent, and Trent's like, yeah, he's like, there's really been no new houses in Pensacola, that whole area, in like maybe 20, 30 years.
Yeah, it's so
we're not used to that.
interesting.
Yeah.
And like all the houses are very different, but it is a little bit more simplistic. And we're not even saying this is a bad thing, but coming from Colorado, having like all this, you know, you can have anything from Victorian to like the most modern house you have ever seen.
Yep.
And you really could just pick and choose because our housing market is insane. Going to Pensacola, I mean, to be honest, we were a little surprised. Now, we're going to talk in a little bit, you know, where you can find some of those things. But if you're looking for that in Pensacola and like looking for those new master plan developments, we really couldn't find that many without traveling kind of further away. Now, some of you guys have been wanting to stay close to downtown Pensacola, aren't as interested as kind of being super, super close to the beach. Also, by the way, if you're coming from a state like us, everything's pretty close. So when I say far away, I'm talking like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
30 minutes max. We're like
Yeah.
Denver, we're used to traveling like maybe 30 minutes will get you the next city.
I used to drive that to my mom's house just to go pick up the kids, 30 minutes. So even in these other cities that we're going to be talking about, it's still about a 30-minute drive to the beach. So I'm not saying it's super far. Now, some of you have asked, like, keep me close to downtown. What other areas do I have? If you're not interested in that east side of Pensacola with those neighborhoods, we have looked at Pace and Milton as well. But I have to talk about our favorite city so far, and that's going to be Gulf Breeze.
Yeah, and Gulf Breeze kind of what we saw. So first things first is we liked how it was closer to the beach, but also if you are wanting that newer home product, that's where we saw the majority of them were going up. And we're not talking master plans, guys. We're not talking about ones with pool communities and such. We're talking about ones that just usually have like a block or two of brand new homes that are going in. They're still pretty simple, just kind of what we're used to. But at the same time, if you do want a brand new house, that's kind of what you're looking at. Outside that, you can see like little onesie twosies, you know, pretty much people scraping and building whatever they want or popping the top, which is actually what we're planning on doing with our house currently. And so that's kind of what you see more than anything. So don't really expect those huge master plans. Potentially in the future, maybe that is something that they're willing to do because Gulf Breeze, Pensacola, this whole area is blown up like crazy. I think everyone's like, man, I want this small town feeling. I want to get out of the big cities. And now that everyone can work remote, they can actually do that.
Now, if you're looking for kind of that more beach luxury home, Gulf Breeze does have that. So if you're going over the first bridge from downtown Pensacola and you enter into Gulf Breeze proper, right? We're telling you these things like we knew all of this a while ago, but we don't. But you do learn really fast because it is a small area.
Yeah.
But when you go over to Gulf Breeze proper, which is that first area before you go over the bridge to Pensacola Beach, and also before entering like the nature preserve, going over to Gulf Breeze unincorporated. But on that right-hand side, there is beautiful luxury homes in that area. They have a little bit more land. They have really mature landscaping and just really, really pretty neighborhood. Now, again, it's not a master plan neighborhood, so it is very unique. Every house looks very different, but that's where you're going to get kind of those $1 million products and up. Now, if you're going over to unincorporated Gulf Breeze, that's when you like hit absolute like suburbia. Okay, this is small town, little kids going to school that, you know, in our city, you don't send little kids to school on the street like that, right? And there you're like, oh my gosh, where's your mama? And it's just really interesting to us to move from city to this small town and still have the accessibility. That was something we always argued about.
Yeah, it's true.
He did not want to go small town.
Well, she was like talking Kansas, and I'm like, really? They got one street light? And I was like, everyone knows everyone's business. There's always drama here and there because they're like talking about, you know, Frank over here and Sue over there, and
he was like,
I'm like-
absolutely not. We do real estate. I need to be in all of the development and new things and learning. And so this is a really good area to get that small town, and then also some different product and housing.
Yep.
We've already covered a little bit about Gulf Breeze, so if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. Maybe we can pop a little quick link up here. So we're not going to dive too much into Gulf Breeze today, but I'm just saying outside of Pensacola, if you cannot find the product that you're looking for, there are options in some of these surrounding cities.
All right, cool, guys. So that's pretty much a quick rundown. If you do have any other questions, of course, reach out. Like I said, we put together the best team when relocating into the Emerald Coast. We can help you out with any of those questions that you do have. So we're going to throw that phone number in below, right there. Give us a call or text. We are there to help you out with all those pain points moving into the free state of Florida.
And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Welcome me into the video since none of you have met me yet. Show me your love down below. And until next time.
We love you. Bye.
Bye. Showing everyone that the sound.
What we're going to be doing today.
What are we doing today? All right, now we talked a little bit in the beginning about how Pensacola and Pensacola Peach.
About a few different areas, what to look out for.
All right, let's go. We were driving around. Do you have anything from Victorian style? All right, so we have talked about it earlier in this video. Oh, do we need to? Okay, we'll do it after this.